Hello, all my beautiful people. It is time once again for another amazing episode of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. So this week I have with me a returning guest. This is a guy who came on, and I think it was about episode 3, and he talked about his chiropractics and things like that. And the last we heard, he was about to go on a trip to Africa. Well, now he's back, and it's time for him to share some of his amazing stories from going on that trip, along with a few other things. And I'm really excited to have him back on. This was an amazing talk that we had. So we got Dr. Joren Whitley. And if you guys are as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast. Hey, Dad.
Get back in your car! Go! Get out of here! You can't be here!
I wasn't about to call you Dad, so.
Seriously?
Just for the work rate, brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she said he looked like an old piece of leather.
Wow.
Supernatural, which is by far one of my favorite shows, and I will be talking a lot about Supernatural. I will be quoting Supernatural.
Bro.
I just remember because they also, everybody, whenever they came to the ring, goes, ooh, 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 ooh.
What? Okay, before I get started, you ever had a design in mind and you wanted to put it on a shirt or a hat or a cup, but you just didn't know who to go to? Well, come on over to R&L Designs, where they make all of your custom needs come true. They make custom hats, they make custom shirts, they make custom mugs, they even do the tumblers and the glass mugs as well. They do key fobs even. They have great prices, and they have a reasonable turnaround time. If you need anything custom, these are the people that you need to hit up today. You can find them on Facebook, and that is at R&L Designs. You can also find them on Instagram at R&L Designs 19. They have a Facebook page. They have an Instagram page. They update it regularly with new products. You can also message them if you have something in mind. Hit them up today for all of your custom needs. Give them a like, give them a follow. All right, everybody. So I have with me today a returning guest. This is somebody that you guys have been asking to come back. The last time that we had him on here, he was talking about a trip that he took, that he was going to be taking to Africa. Now he is back, and he is here to talk about that and many other things. The guy that I'm talking about is Dr. Joren Whitley. Man, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be back stateside. I've been back for, I think, a little over a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. But it's amazing to be back.
Right on. I'm sure your wife and everybody missed you a lot.
Yeah. I had her missing me. The dog kind of freaked out, going, I don't remember who you are. My patients were definitely glad to have me back. And it was good to just be, I don't know, being able to work on animals that I didn't feel like were about to kill me. Every second that I was working on them. So
I bet that was very nerve-wracking. Probably you had a lot of adrenaline rushes while you were there.
Oh yeah, I mean there was a time I was working on a lion, and it started to wake up. I'm working on this zebra, and we're transporting them from truck to truck, and one of them starts to wake up and goes thrashing around in the back of this truck. I mean, just insane stuff.
Oh wow.
Animals getting darted by helicopter, and us rushing into the bush to go find them, and yeah, man, it was a good time. Lots of adrenaline.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, when was it that you went there exactly, and how long did you actually stay there?
Man, I've even forgotten when I went. I believe I went sometime at the end of April, beginning of May. I got back sometime in May.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it was like April 20th. I was gone for 17 days total. It was a very long trip there. It took over 3 days to get there. because of the changes in time and when, airplanes take off from different airports. We started the journey. It was me and a videographer and a producer.
Mm-hmm.
And we took off from Oklahoma City and we flew into, I believe it was Houston. So we flew down to Houston, and then from there we traveled over to Newark and into New York. And then from there we got on a plane and we flew all the way down to Johannesburg, South Africa. And then from there we ended up having to stay overnight in Johannesburg just because there was no flights going out to where we were going until the next day. So we had to stay there a night, which gave us a chance to kind of see Johannesburg and eat some really good food. And then we finally got to where we were going, but it was like 3 straight days. But then, it was 17 days of being in the African bush, or being, in a town where, nobody, and there's so many different languages being spoken. And I mean, English was a primary language there, but it was just kind of a different world. I don't want to say third world, but it really was. In different aspects. I mean, absolutely gorgeous though.
Yeah.
The coastline was amazing, and the terrain was like a mix of like Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas and Missouri, and also like Colorado. I mean, it was just different.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. We could talk about so much.
Well, I did see some of the pictures that you posted from when you was there, and it definitely did look beautiful and awe-inspiring almost. With some of those that you posted, and it was really nice to see. How many different animals did you actually work on while you were there, and what kinds of different ones did you do?
Oh man, I couldn't. I don't know how many different animals, like different types of animals, like off the top of my head that I can think about that I worked on. But I mean, there were different kinds or species of impala. So it was like it'd be like a black impala and a white impala, and so there were all these different types of one type of animal too. So I worked on a zebra, a giraffe, a lion, a Cape buffalo, an impala. Man, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. I know there were some other ones, but I just can't remember what they were.
Okay.
And I know that sounds weird, but it's like, here, if I said, okay, here are a ton of different kinds of cars and you have to name them all,
right.
It's kind of hard to remember every single one. And that's when you go over there are so many different types of animals that we've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Stuff you would see in the zoo, but it's like that animal that you pass by in the zoo and you're like, yeah, it's just one of those horned things, and you keep going. It was like that, but we would drive and see. I mean, it was like, I can't say deer because we don't see that many deer compared to the amount of animals that we saw there. I mean, we saw it'd be like cattle. You're driving down the street, down the road in central Oklahoma or parts of Arkansas, and you see like cattle on the side of the road. It was like that with their wildlife. There were all of these big, what were they called? I don't remember. Bonta bucks and all these like weird sounding little named animals. They were everywhere. And so whenever we darted one, I'd get a chance. I could work on one, or depending on the situation, I got to work on different animals. I worked on a water mongoose at one point. That was at the zoo. Yeah, that was kind of a different thing too. I mean, we were in so many different locations and places, but I got to see animals in a completely different way than we do here in the States. It's like, oh, hey, look, there's a giraffe from far off, and I'm, running over to put a blindfold on one after it's been darted and it hit the ground. Just different, completely different experience than what you would normally get, here in the States or at a zoo in general, or a wildlife safari or whatever. But man, I couldn't tell you how many I worked on, or all the different kinds, but I worked on quite a few.
So I'm guessing that the giraffe took the longest because it has that long neck.
Yeah, no, the giraffe was actually the fastest, because the difference between all the different animals, we had, the lion that was sedated, and we had the, Cape buffalo that was sedated, and both dangerous animals.
Right.
The giraffe, the way its body is designed, whenever it gets darted, it's being tranquilized. Whenever it goes down, there is a certain period of time before you have to get it back standing up, or it will actually die from basically hypoxia. Yeah, so it doesn't get enough oxygen back to its brain because of the way it's laying down. And so, especially with the medication. And so, so as soon as this animal goes down, like, you have to run over and the vet has to then inject it with something to reverse the medication it gave it. So we had to run over to it, and we had to put blindfolds on it, and we had to put things in its ears to basically get rid of any stimulus like auditory or sensory deprivation type thing to make it calm down. Well, as soon as it's given, that animal is up on its feet. And so we had one that was down, and I was able to work on it because I had an issue in its neck. And so anyway, I was able to work on it, but I was able to work on it very quickly before it stood up. And so I didn't get a chance to really spend time on it. It would have been really, really cool to do so, but I didn't get that chance there just because of how fast things had to be done. And also, man, those things are dangerous. We were there, we had darted 2, and the first one went down. We run over to it, and we ran around this corner, and the first thing we see are its legs. And then the guy behind him that was already starting to put the blindfold and all and on, he's like, get back. And that giraffe kicked and hit the tree next to us. And that tree, the bark popped off of it.
Good Lord.
Like, yeah, it was scary. Yeah. And they were saying that the giraffe, whenever they kick, I mean, they can kill you. But they also have these ossicones on top of their head, basically these little bony knot structures on top of their head that they use for fighting. Okay. And they were saying that, in the past, whenever they were doing this, there was somebody, for whatever reason, that giraffe came around and hit somebody with one of those and shattered their skull. Oh. So it was, it was just one of those, like, we had to be extremely careful around them. What's crazy is earlier in the trip, before we ever got to do this, we actually got to encounter a friendly kind of domesticated giraffe. It was basically a giraffe that had been abandoned as a baby, and something to do with poachers had killed its mom or something. And so it was raised by these people, and because it was raised by humans and all, it became very accustomed to them. And although he's still a wild animal, he just doesn't see humans as a threat. And so he'll walk up and, be super kind and all that, and you could feed him and all that, but you are standing right in front of him, and they're like, okay, well, watch out. We don't ever get near his feet. We don't make sudden movements, all that stuff. Well, the guy that's filming me, he's got my phone attached to the top of his camera, and he does something beside this giraffe, and the giraffe doesn't like it and kicks, hits my phone and shatters the back of my phone.
Oh, wow.
Like, just annihilated the back of my phone. And I kept it. I had to get a new phone when I got back, but I kept it just as it's
a souvenir, man.
Just like a souvenir. Like, man. So whenever I walked into 18, he was like, yeah, I need to get a new phone. They're like, wow, what happened? I was like, yeah, a giraffe kicked it. They're like, wait, what? Yeah, a giraffe kicked my phone, and that's why I'm needing to get a new one. They're like, I'm sorry, repeat that and why. And
they're like, man, come on now, tell us what really happened here.
Yeah, like, okay, you ran it over the car, and I'm like, no, here's a video, and I've actually got video because we're filming, and we get kicked, right? So we don't see the actual kick because of the way the camera angle, but you see, like, we're sitting there next to the giraffe, and all of a sudden the phone goes crack and it just hits the ground. It's just it was a really cool experience. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different things, man. We darted a lion, and I don't know. I'm going off on tangents. I could get into just ranting, raving.
You're good. And that's something I would have never thought of when you were talking about how you had to pretty much almost get it up immediately because of the lack of oxygen they would get. That's not something that I would even think of, so I mean, there's a lot of training with what you did and everything that has to go into being able to go over there and do this. And I'm sure it helps with you having your experience and learning how to do the large animal chiropractics and things like that. So I'm sure that helped a lot, but my goodness, just knowing the human body and then animals on top of that, and now these exotic animals as well, that's insane.
Oh, yeah. And what's crazy is it seems that, all these different animals that I worked on before going to Africa, it was kind of like I felt like, I don't know, God was probably preparing me for kind of what I was going to be doing, because I worked on, right before I went to Africa, or not necessarily right before, but in the months leading up to it, I worked on like an alpaca, right? Okay. So this animal with a longer neck, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to get used to working on that. I worked on a bucking bull. And so
Okay.
I had to get used to working on these big animals that I was going to be working on on top of them that are also just huge in muscle mass. And like there were just these little things that just I felt like were preparation for this kind of journey that we were on. It was really cool. I mean, there was some really cool stuff that we saw. I mean, there was a lot that we learned. There was a lot that we saw, you know, in terms of economy, and we saw things with, you know, politics and so many other things. Because we were there for so long, we started getting accustomed or used to, like, we started to learn about just life there. And it was really, really interesting. We also learned, I got an understanding of how different the United States, like how we feel in the United States about things, or how we have like an Americanized version of things. Like while we were there, you know, we saw all these hunting ranches, right? And so we actually stayed at this hunting lodge, and it was the center for this game capture program. Game capture was for a ton of different reasons. You know, we moved animals because maybe in a certain area there were only so many males, and so they were starting to like try to inbreed, and so they had to move the males off to allow new males to come in so that the population could grow and not be inbred. Or like an animal, or like a population maybe getting too large and a certain piece of property can't sustain them. So it's like maybe law requires that you can only have so many animals per, over there it's called hectares, not acres. And it's a different form of math, but you know, so many hectares can only have so many animals on it, and so they had to be moved or whatever. But the Americanized version of how we see animals was completely different than over there, where they saw them as food, you know, this or livestock or whatever. And that when we went to the zoo, you know, the zoo over there is nothing like a zoo here. The zoo here is all about education.
So there was a zoo there then. Okay, I thought I heard you say that a minute ago.
Yeah. There was a single zoo, and man, it was nothing like our American zoos, because our American zoos are funded by either private citizens, or they're funded by, you know, maybe city works type stuff. The zoo over there was low. I mean, given very little funding for any of their stuff, and so they had some of the animals that you would typically see in Africa. They didn't have big animals that you wouldn't necessarily see there, but they had a couple animals that you would see in Africa. But they did have animals like a jaguar, or maybe like chimpanzees, maybe something you wouldn't necessarily see right there in South Africa, but maybe in different parts of Africa. And it was just kind of amazing that when you went there, like the place was kind of run down. And I mean, by kind, I mean like really run down. There was trash everywhere and stuff. And I think while we were there, we only saw 5 people inside the zoo. And it was just kind of a different atmosphere. And, you know, I was talking to the lead lady, the director of the zoo, and she was saying that it doesn't matter how many people come into the zoo, they will not receive any more funding, and they can't, any of the money that comes into the zoo immediately goes back to the city. The zoo gets none of it. And so the zoo has to work on, you know, pennies basically. And in that, they, you know, the upkeep of the animals and stuff was completely different. And the people's perception of why the animals were in the zoo was also different. She was saying that people come into the zoo asking what the animals taste like. So it was like the grocery store. Yeah, like going up and going, oh, there's an animal. What does that taste like? Can I have it to take it home? And so they had to keep their tortoises. Dead serious. They had to keep their land tortoises, their large tortoises. They had to keep behind wire, because people were going up and they were trying to take them out the front door. They were, they saw a jaguar, and they had never seen a jaguar before, right? So, you know, in Africa, you hear about the lion, you hear about the tiger and all that stuff. Well, it was a jaguar. And so it was like, well, we're not used to seeing this. So they were like, we want to pet it. And so these people were reaching their hands up into the jaguar cage to try to pet the jaguar. They had to put acrylic. Yeah, they had to put acrylic over it to like big old sheet of acrylic to make sure people wouldn't put their hands through the bars. Well, people were like, no, we want to pet it. So they would break out the acrylic to try to get up inside to pet the jaguar, right? And I just talked to the lady. I was like, you should have let him. She goes, no, because as soon as somebody loses an arm, we'd get shut down.
Yeah, I was about to say, how many fingers had they lost?
Exactly. And there were, you know, other things like with the monkeys, right? So the chimpanzees, people were like, oh, we've never seen you. Ooh, do a trick. And if they didn't do a trick, they'd throw rocks at them. Well, then the chimpanzees learned to throw rocks back. Yeah, they started busting people's skulls open. So they had to put a plexiglass in front of the monkeys. Just crazy stuff, right? So, and I know that's like kind of off the beaten path and normal of conversation, but it was just a different atmosphere and a completely different it was a completely different experience than you would get in the United States. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah. So I know that I've seen, like, I saw a video the other day, and I think it was in India. It was a zoo there, and somebody got too close to the orangutan cage, and he grabbed the guy's shirt because it was just like wrought iron bars. There was nothing else between him and the orangutan, and he like grabbed him by the shirt and ended up having his leg, and it took like 3 or 4 people just to get him away because that orangutan had, you know, both of its hands and one of its feet just holding onto this guy there. And yeah, you would think that there would be a little bit more of a safety net there than that. So I read this not too long ago. The pits and stuff that we have at our zoos, that we have in between the animals. Do you know what I read? That they were based off of other animals escaping. So the reason why that pit is as big as it is now is because they had a smaller one, but the animal jumped out.
Oh, wow.
And I could just imagine, you know, going there, being one of the people, and then all of a sudden you've got a tiger, you know, up there in your face. Or, you know, something, a bear climbing up there at you or something. It, you know, that would just, that'd scare me to death.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be absolutely insane. And then what's crazy is, like, you know, we have that fear at one of our local zoos, right? But we went into this lion cage, and they had, it was not at the zoo, it was at this private reserve. They had all these lions there. And whenever I say private reserve, it's not like, you know, in America, you if somebody has 100 acres, they have a lot of land. We're talking like hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of acres. The one property we were on was 66 square miles.
Oh,
like that's insane. It's huge. Yeah, it's massive. So some of the properties were absolutely gigantic. And so we went in this lion enclosure, and with the lions, they are over there, you know, there are a lot of farmers, and there are a lot of families and a lot of local people. So there are not, in South Africa, there aren't a lot of wild animals running around. And what I mean is there aren't a bunch of wild lions running the prairies, right? This is like a civilized-ish type of area where there are fences everywhere. There are people everywhere. There are little villages and all of these things all over South Africa. So whenever you think of Africa, you know, you think of the Serengeti, and it's not like that at all. And where we were at, locals would kill lions or cheetahs or any animal that was not, or any animal that could potentially pose a threat to them, their family, or their livestock, they were killing. And so a lion would not last very long at all because of the hunting that goes on there. And I don't mean hunting as in, you know, people hunting animals for sport or anything like that. It's basically the hunting from the locals going, we're just going to wipe them all out.
Yeah,
exactly. And they wipe out a lot of the other animals too. So if you look at some of the stuff like the impala and some of those things, those impala are now eating the grass that their cows need to eat, or their sheep need to eat. And so they're like, okay, well, we can't have that animal here because that animal provides us no money. It's eating our food. We need to go ahead and kill it, and we'll eat it because we don't want it interfering with our business, right? So animals that aren't on giant game reserves, and by game reserves, I mean there are a lot of land, lots and lots of land out there that's considered like a game reserve or private owned or whatnot. If it's not like that and there aren't those animals on there, they don't exist. I mean, monkeys and stuff are everywhere, but some of those animals, like, again, lions and giraffes and elephants and stuff, are not running wild unless they're on a preserve or on someone's private land. Because they wreak havoc and people kill them all. So anyway, go back. We are on this guy's property, and he has like 12 lions, right, in this massive enclosure. And these lions are running free and all that stuff. But because they have so many of them, 12 lions are not allowed to be. Let me back up again. the 66 square miles we were on, there were only allowed to be 3 lions on 66 square miles, because any more than that create a pack that will eat everything.
Oh.
So on 66 square miles, which is a massive piece of, I mean, that's like the size of a small town, or I say town, like small city. Small city. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. That's...
that is only big enough for 3 lions. So if you look at some place that has 12, they have to be fed, right? So people bring carcasses in and all that stuff, and they feed them and they let them be, and then let them live on this big plot of land, but it's not big enough for them to be let wild and sustain with all the other animals.
Right.
In saying that, they're fed so they can live, basically. They're fed so that they can live on these small properties. So, and by small, I don't mean small at all. They're huge. But so anyway, what they do is they, instead of letting them breed, because they said they breed a lot. They breed like cats. I mean, they breed and breed and breed. And so to do that, or to prevent that, what they'll do is they'll go in and vasectomize the male lions, so they can breed as much as they want to. They just won't ever have cubs.
Right.
So they had to go in and vasectomize another lion. So we got to go with them. And while we were there, it wasn't like, okay, well, we're going to go up and, we're going to dart this animal and then, we just move him over. It was like, okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to go in, and a truck is going to go in first, and we're going to find the lions.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one specifically that we want to vasectomize, and we need to dart that lion. Mm-hmm. And then when that lion goes down, we have exactly this much time before we have to get him back under sedation, or heavier sedation. So then it was like, it was a time against the clock kind of thing. And they said, when we dart the lion, what will happen is as soon as he goes to sleep, we have to drive the other cars in to circle him so the other lions don't attack the people picking up the lion.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wait, what? What was that? And they're like, yeah, we're about to do a drill. And they looked at me and the other camera guy, and they're like, you two are going to be help pick the lion up, because you're the strongest men in the group. So they're like, you're going to go help pick the lion up. And I was like, I'm sorry, say that again. They're like, yeah, so you're going to go in, and so you're going to be in the second car, and you're going to jump out, and your camera guy is going to film all this, but you got to jump out and you have to pick the lion up, and we have to put it in the back of a truck. Mm-hmm. And then we have to, and whenever we do that though, all the other vehicles have to surround so that the lions don't get you. And here's the thing though, is you have to remember which vehicle you came out of and what door you came out of, and all, because whenever you have to run, you need to make sure you get back into that same side so that you don't get left. Right. I was just like, holy crap. Yeah, so that's what happens.
That's just what you want to hear.
Dart. Yeah, exactly. We go in, we dart, or they dart, and so then it's game time, right? So we get out of the vehicle and we go up and we're picking up this lion, and dude, it was heavy, so heavy. So we pick up this lion, put it in the back of this truck, and the camera guy's filming. All of a sudden, it was like you hear this roar, and we're like, okay, back in the car. And so while we're in there, though, you hear the little girl. For some reason, there was a little girl that was like the owner's granddaughter or something, was in the very back seat. She's like, there's one to our right and one to our left, and this one's coming up fast, and all this stuff. So we're like, all right, we got back in the car and we move over. Well, what happens is a lot of those animals, they see the car as one unit, and so they don't see the people in the car. They don't see. It's kind of like the safari vehicles that you don't see. They don't see the people in the safari vehicle. They see it as one giant machine, right, or one giant animal. Yeah. And so they saw the vehicle like that. And so what we did is we went through this little gated area. And by gated, I mean it was like an 8-foot gate. That was it. That was what was standing between us and lions. Wow. We parked the vehicle and we put the lion right next to the vehicle in the shade so that it could be worked on. Right. So after he got done working, they worked on it. The lions were starting to get closer and closer and closer, and they wanted to know what we were doing to their friend. And so they started rushing the gate. And, we've got 1 or 2 guys there with guns just in case. And they are, bum rushing the gate, like going to get in kind of thing. And there were several times where it was like, okay, everyone out. And we had to leave this little area so that we, there wouldn't be an issue. Well, we moved the vehicle after it's been vasectomized. We go through the entire surgery and all that. After the vehicle gets moved, the lions are now getting ballsy, and they're like, okay, we see a bunch of people, and we see our friend on the ground, and we want him back now. And so they start really rushing the gate. And then I go to work on it was like, okay, hurry up, work on the, the lion kind of thing. So I ran in there to work on it, and I start making an adjustment, and I make an adjustment, and the lion that I'm working on is coming out of sedation, and you can hear it very low. You just hear, "Rrr."
Oh no.
And I was like, oh, snap. And I was like, oh, and the veterinarian that's working immediately goes, everyone out. And so everyone has to leave, and she starts to give him another injection, like something else to sedate him.
Right.
And because it's just like a topper to keep him sedated.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't gone through all of the stuff that I needed to do to him or they needed to do. And so once he was back sedated and the other lines were pushed back just a little bit, we were able to finish out the adjustment. I was able to bring students over and say, okay, do you feel this? Do you feel this? Do you feel the difference now? Do you feel this? Let me adjust it and then feel it. Do you feel the difference? And it was a really cool experience where I got to teach, but it was also a hair-raising, just, wow, I can't believe that we did that kind of feeling. And we have it all on video, which makes it even cooler. So many different things that we got to do, and we got it on video, which is absolutely amazing. But we, man, I don't know. It's just an amazing experience.
That is really cool. And I looked it up. 66 square miles is 42,000 acres, and that's the size of St. Louis, Missouri.
That's insane.
That is huge.
Yeah. So that's one place we were on, man. It was absolutely incredible. That place had giraffes and lions and elephants. I had never seen a herd of elephants before in my life. It was the coolest experience, and it was also very humbling because we were following these elephants as they were like rushing through the trees, and you just hear the footsteps and the trees cracking. I mean, they were just running these trees over like they're nothing.
Yeah.
And it was insane, but we got too close too. And there were some like young elephants. There were some younger elephants. And we got a little too close with this little vehicle, and one of the elephants turned and like kind of charged at us. And it was just an oh crap moment, like, wow, we are like in the midst of it, right? And we are out here alone. But it was so cool. And what's really funny is we haven't even posted all the pictures yet. We haven't posted hardly any of the video. It's been kind of a process to try to get the right editing on some of this video to truly show like what we were doing and why we were doing it.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that it does take some time, because you want to make sure that what you're putting out there is, that it's portraying what actually happened. That way they can see the best angle of what's going on.
Oh yeah, and we've already gotten flack for some of the stuff we have seen or shown. We posted a video, talking about the vasectomy and why we were there and all that stuff, and immediately we got so much crap for it. It was immediately like, look at this man and his team just playing God out there, and why do you have to vasectomize such a beautiful creature, and why do you have to do this, and dude, we've gotten so much crap for it. And instead of it being like this beautiful, like, this is what's going on and this is why it's being done, people are immediately very, very upset by it. It's just lack of knowledge on the subject, or again, that American mindset. We had a lot of people really upset with what we were doing, and the American mindset. We're talking about chiropractic in general. The American mindset is that chiropractic is fraudulent, or I mean, I get told that I'm a snake oil salesman and that what I do doesn't make a difference in animal or people's lives, and just all this stuff, right? So it's like the good stuff I get to wake up to in the morning.
Just going off of my wife, I've seen her. She has to go to a chiropractor regularly, and I've seen when she hasn't went in a while, and she can barely walk, so I have to take her myself because her hip goes out, and so those people that say it's snake oil, there's always going to be haters on the internet. Oh yeah,
there will always be, and it's really interesting because we had some vet students that actually came with us, and they turned out to be, I mean, they were awesome people, but we had like a really big disagreement in the beginning of me being there because all these people, one, I was actually there as like an instructor. Hey, I'm going to teach you guys about animal chiropractic. I'm bringing this to the continent of South Africa,
Yes.
and in a completely different way, and doing stuff that people don't normally do and all that. And the immediate reaction was chiropractic isn't real, and what you do for animals doesn't make sense, nor is it going to work. It took me being there for, I'd say, a good week or so before people really started to understand and see why I was there and what I was doing.
Right.
And we were able to have great conversations. And like I said, I was able to show them with the lion, like, here, feel this and feel this. And this is why I'm doing this. Now, will this animal ever probably get chiropractic care again? No, but maybe that area of its spine was causing it some discomfort, and I was able to provide some relief.
Right.
We did that with the Cape Buffalo. We had a Cape Buffalo that, it ended up getting darted so it could be moved and all that stuff. Well, from the video, we put a GoPro out, and the video shows, the GoPro was attached to the helicopter. So from the helicopter, we can actually see this animal running, and you can see a gait issue while it's running.
Yeah.
And we then, I go and I work on it, and I find a spot in its mid back or its lower back that needed to be adjusted. Mm-hmm. And so I adjusted it. And then later on, I end up talking to the vet, and we got this also on video, where he was saying, from the air, I saw that guy running, and I knew something was wrong with his gait. And I was like, okay, well, there's a correlation there. I find something going on. And you, as a veterinarian, say that you see the same thing that I see. Yeah. And then, we got it on video and stuff too, which is just showing that there is a correlation there, and there could be something that could change. So in his case, we found that spot, we worked on it. Maybe when he wakes up, he's not going to feel as bad as he did before he went to sleep. Right. Maybe he's going to feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And joints that don't move well become arthritis or become arthritic, and they degenerate. So maybe it saved that joint from degenerating as fast, right? Or, I don't know.
Yeah. He can run a little longer.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many different reasons why we do what we do. I mean, I remember working on a chimpanzee once, and this was here at the zoo. The chimpanzee had been beaten up by other chimpanzees. And, if you were to get into a fight, I'm pretty sure your body would hurt, right? But imagine a chimpanzee getting the snot kicked out of him by all these other chimpanzees for months at a time. Yeah. There was something going on with his body, and his body was wrecked. I mean, this guy also had, missing fingers and everything else. And so I remember working on him and finding all this stuff going on in his neck that we were able to move. Maybe whenever he woke up out of sedation, he was like, wow, this is the first time in a long time I don't feel like total crap.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of mindset around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still, the hater thing, we still get a lot of hate now. I get probably more hate now than I have in a long time. I have groups of veterinarians trying to get my office shut down and all sorts of fun stuff just because they just don't see the validity behind what I do, and I can show them research articles all day long, but people are stubborn and
they're right, and they don't want you to prove them wrong.
Right. And there have been some cases where I can show and prove that it made a difference, but people still refuse to believe. And that's fine. They don't have to believe in me. I still exist. Yep. And my office still exists. And we're going to continue to change lives, and that's not an issue. But yeah, man, you take something amazing and try to show the world something amazing. Yeah, you'll get haters for it, but overall I think we're going to make a huge difference whenever we start really showing what we do on a global scale. It's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a learning tool that wasn't there before, that you are now able to provide because you went over there, and because you're starting to do because you do the animal chiropractics. Before I didn't even know that existed. So and whenever I started seeing you do this, I was like, whoa, this is different. What is going on? And the thing is a lot of people, if they don't understand it, it goes back to anything over time that's happened. There's fear in things that people don't understand. And the thing is with what you do, not a lot of people understand it. I had somebody who, after listening to the first episode that I had you on, was like, I never realized this. And, they had a dog that kind of did, you were talking about one where it would kind of look to one side and it would pass out. and she was talking about how her dog would do that, and she had no idea that there was something that could have been done, for her dog. And now, she has that knowledge about it,
Oh yeah.
and before she didn't. So, I mean, with what you're doing, you are bringing about knowledge to people who don't know about this. And the problem comes when people don't want to learn learn new things. They want to just, this is the way things are, and we don't want to change it. And they feel threatened when something is new and different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, totally. It's, it's scary saying that, everything you've been told like your entire life, maybe there's something else to it. Right.
Right.
And I only mean that, we're this idea that we have to take medication for every ailment, and we have to, put a dog down that can't really use its back legs like it used to, or wow, your dog is really arthritic, so we need to put it down. And I'm not saying there aren't cases for that, but there are sometimes it's like, well, what have you gotten it adjusted? Does it just need to feel better? When my back is tight, I feel really terrible. And after getting adjusted, I'm like, wow, I can actually move again. Now I can go enjoy life like I used to.
Yeah.
And we have dogs every day, and the owners are like, wow, my dog is doing so much better. This is the first day in months it's wagged its tail. My dog is starting to walk again. They seem like they're back to their old self. That's what gets me.
Yeah.
Wow, they act like a puppy again. Stuff like that. It's if I could say anything though on that, I would say that I really wish people would start looking at chiropractic is not so much an idea of like trying to fix neck or back pain or headaches or whatever, but more like a way to keep your body moving, right? So you don't go to the dentist just when you have cavities. You go and you get your teeth cleaned to prevent cavities and to keep your smile and all that. And I really wish people would look at chiropractic in the same way, and that we can go and just put a little mobility into the spine, and maybe the spine will last us a little bit longer. It's like you can have your teeth or your eyes, but do you want them to be at their very best, because you only get one set. And if you abuse it, you may not entirely lose it, but it's just going to really suck from for the rest of your life. And so I mean, that's kind of my mantra. But
well, and going back to one thing that you said a minute ago, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but the United States and pharmaceutical companies have made it to where we think that we have to take a pill or we have to take a drug to fix anything, that there's nothing that we can do otherwise, that medicine is the only way to fix our problems. And that's not always the case. There are other ways to fix things from time to time, chiropractics being one of those things.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. And I will say, I have medical doctor friends. I have veterinarian friends. I 100% agree. There's a time and place for medicine.
Yes.
There's a time and place for surgery. There's a time and place for so many things. And there is a time, talking about dogs, there is a time for euthanasia. There is a time for everything. And I get that. I mean, as a chiropractor deals with the spine, there is a time for spinal surgery. I understand that.
Yeah.
But it's not every time. And, I'd like to look at it that way rather than just living pill by pill or day by day, pill to pill,
right?
Or surgery to surgery. I want there to be an alternative, right? That you can live life and instead of, I don't know, why not change your diet? Why not, do things that are going to help promote a healthier lifestyle so that things don't wear down faster.
Yeah.
It's like if I were thinking I had to add additives to my fuel all the time when I'm putting crappy fuel in my car, why not just put better fuel in my car?
Exactly.
I don't have to add all the additives. Just add better stuff, and then you don't need the additives. But I mean, that's how I view it. And I mean, I know people are going to have difference of opinion, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to go off on I'm not going to go off on a holistic rant on crystals and in meditation, all that stuff. But what I'm saying is there's a time and place for different things, and there are things that we don't understand that completely play a role in us. The frequencies of music, the frequency of sound and vibration, the smells of different things. There are so many different things that affect us in a completely different way that we don't even understand. Magnetism. I mean, people don't realize that their body has a magnetic pole to it,
Mm-hmm.
that there's electricity that runs through your body in ways that you don't understand. Your body has other ways of communicating rather than just nerves.
Well, the nerves have
there are
electricity
so many different
themselves.
things. Oh, exactly. And there are so many things we don't understand. And to chalk it up to, I cut you open, I see all the moving parts, and that's it.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. And some people accept it, and some people won't, and some people take it and they run way the other direction with it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do that, but I try to do everything based on some sort of science. And what's great about my profession is that like the gold standard of research is like a double-blind study, right? It's a gold standard. Basically, a doctor doesn't know they're giving a placebo. The patient doesn't know they're receiving a placebo,
Right.
or not. Maybe they're receiving the actual thing, but the doctor doesn't know. The patient doesn't know. If you have a chiropractor that doesn't know he's giving an adjustment, he shouldn't be practicing. Like,
Correct.
he shouldn't be a chiropractor, because you can't do that, and it's malpractice. It'd be like a surgery, people being like, "Oh, I thought I gave the surgery right, but I didn't." It's like, that's malpractice. You
Right.
don't do that. So with that, it's really, really hard to say that there is a double-blind gold standard study for chiropractic, but there is over 100 years of testimonial evidence and 100 years of anecdotal evidence showing that chiropractic has made a difference in people's lives. And I look at the studies sometimes, and some of the studies suck. I'll just admit it. Like, I'm like, wow, why did you do this study like that? That's terrible. But like to say, like, if I wanted to do one over back pain, dude, like maybe a quarter of my patients have back pain. The rest of them have maybe neck pain. So then I'm like, okay, well, now I got to narrow the parameters down to only my lower back patients. And then I go, okay, well, then how many of them are within this age range or whatever? And then so I have to narrow it down so much that I eventually get to a point where my patient pool is so little for that specific study that I'm like, this is not worth my time.
Right.
So it's very hard to do that and to get repetitive. Every person is different. Everybody's body is different. Every single adjustment is different. So it's going to affect people in different ways. I don't know. I can go on and on about it, but it's just interesting because it's what I get reamed over, right? And but anyway,
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
No, you're good, man. I'm right there with you. I mean, I'm just, my brain's just going, and I'm like, yeah, and thinking of things just to keep the rant going, because one thing that comes to mind for me is this. I remember a surgeon telling me one time that surgery is a major trauma to someone's body.
Oh yeah.
So why not try to find other ways first, beforehand, before you go to that major trauma? If you can get adjusted to make your back feel better, or you can get adjusted to help your mobility instead of having a surgery, then why wouldn't you go that route and save yourself from having that trauma on your body and the recovery time as well?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, look at it like this. Take a shirt, right, that you're wearing, and take that shirt and like dead center of it, you just put like a 4 or 5 inch gash down the middle of that shirt, and then sew it back together. You're not going to be able to sew it back together exactly as it was, and it's going to have tensions in different areas now. It's going to pull differently on the fabric.
Right.
Well, think of it like your body doing that, but multiple layers of that. Every time you cut through the body, you are doing that same thing through so many layers, and you create scar tissue, and you create changes in the body. You create compensations. I mean, I had to have umbilical hernia surgery. I lifted a washer over my shoulder. That was stupid. But I ended up having to get surgery for it, and it was dumb. But like, I couldn't use my abdomen properly for a few months, and there's scar tissue there, and I can feel that scar tissue now. I'm better, and I work out still and all that stuff now. But whenever I had the surgery, I was down, and so my body created compensations to me not being able to use those muscles properly.
Right. And
also creates muscle. It creates compensations now because of the scar tissue and how the fibers and the fascia don't properly line up. And it's amazing how one little problem in one area of your body will trigger problems in another area of your body because they're pulling. It's like one little strand. You pull that one little strand, and it pulls some other piece. So yeah, I mean, you every time you go into the body like that, you are creating potential issues, not necessarily that you are creating issues, but potential issues.
Right.
And if you can do it in a more natural way, fantastic. And like I said before, there's some times where you have to go into the body.
Correct.
And I get that.
Yes.
But once you're cut on, you're cut on. And if you're
Uh-huh.
doing it because you feel like you have to, but it's not necessarily what you, I won't say what you need, but if that feels like your only route, sometimes there are better options. And once you have surgery, you can't reverse it. You can't reverse the fact that you had your gallbladder out, or that you had a spinal surgery, or whatever. And
Right.
so what happens is you end up, if you've ever seen one of those like dolls, I'm thinking of like or like the Frankenstein dolls, right? The dolls that have been ripped apart and sewn back together so many times
Mm-hmm.
that they just the legs aren't the right length,
Yep.
and the shoulder is a little forward than it should be, and the head doesn't sit just right. And
Yep.
right now I'm thinking of a patient I have who had a first rib removed, and I feel bad for the guy because his body recreates compensation every single minute of the day because he's missing a bone that provides support for certain muscle groups, and his body continuously makes compensation. And so all we're working on day in and day out, every time I see him, is fixing the compensation created from the surgery.
Wow.
And it's sad. I hate that for him.
Yeah.
But it happened, and because of not necessarily knowing and all that, and I get it. It's just, I feel bad for the guy because he will forever live with that scar, that issue.
Right.
So I look at the same thing with animals too. So going back to the animal stuff, the reason I work on animals is to show people, one, I work on animals so that animals have a better living, and they have a better life, and
Right.
I kind of feel like a voice for animals and stuff like that. But at the same time, I can show somebody, I took an animal that maybe had a lower back injury, and I worked on it, and it got better. It wasn't me giving a placebo. It wasn't me telling this dog over and over again he was getting well and he just believed it.
Right.
It wasn't, I didn't pay him. I didn't coax him into believing that he was better. I adjusted the dog. The dog tried to bite me. The dog hated me, and then the dog started walking again.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not placebo. That just shows by working on this animal that even an animal that absolutely hates me can get better. You can too.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. If you have an open mind to it. If you don't have an open mind to it, it just looks like I abuse animals. So I mean,
I know there's been a few videos that I've seen where you've almost gotten bit.
oh yeah, a lot of times. I now use muzzles
Yeah.
because whenever I first started working on animals, I was like, I'm invincible. And I had a dog bite me once and draw blood. I had a dog bite an owner and draw blood. I had a cat. I was like, oh, sweet cat, no problem. And I found one spot in its lower back. Oh my God. I adjusted this thing, and he sunk his teeth so far into my hand that his teeth touched inside my hand. His top teeth and bottom teeth touched inside my hand. And I was like, okay, I am done with this. So I have muzzles for every size dog. I've got a cat muzzle. I've got a cat bag, which is basically like a little bag that you put the cat in, and it basically locks their legs down a little bit, so that they can't turn around and just claw the snot out of you. And it restricts their range of motion in their neck so that they can't turn around and bite you. Because man, you pet a cat wrong and it's gonna, you pet a cat wrong and it'll turn around and sink its teeth into you.
Exactly.
Imagine pushing on its spine in a spot that hurts, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been bit too many times, and I decided it's not worth it anymore. Man, it's all the small dogs really that really end up sinking their teeth into me. Lots of dachshunds and chihuahuas and
well, they have that little dog syndrome, so they are a little bit more vicious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, I have to prove a point. Yeah, I've learned a little bit, and I realize I'm not invincible, and I do different things for a reason. I choose to not have somebody help me with dogs because I realize that sometimes it can create an atmosphere that's very, temperamental for them, so they get mad. Some dogs come in, they're already mad. So,
right.
If
you were in pain, you'd be mad too.
Sometimes, yeah, exactly. Like, I just want to bite everybody. Yeah. So, but that's one thing that I've said before. People ask me, like, what do you like working on better, people or animals? And I'm always like, well, I don't know, my animals don't talk back, but my people don't bite, so I'm kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
So, I've been punched once or twice, but
Oh
I've never been
gosh.
bit by a patient. Yeah, I had a patient. I ballooned her. Like I do this technique called CFR. It's a craniofacial release technique, and
Uh-huh.
basically I put a balloon up your nose into one of the crevices inside of your nose, and whenever I blow this balloon up, it'll actually push pressure against the inside walls of your nasal pharynx, or basically the hallway between your nose and your throat. It'll
Uh-huh.
put pressure on it and actually shift and move the bones of the skull. It's by a very, very tiny amount, but it's incredible. It's an incredible technique. But anyway, I did it to this lady. She stood up and just punched me right in the chest. And oh man, it just wasn't, I wasn't expecting it. And I had another one. I adjusted her neck and she just wasn't like, I guess she had never been adjusted like that before. Turned around, just socked me. And then it
Oh
was just like,
wow.
I am so sorry. It was a reaction. I was like, it's okay.
Oh wow. You're gonna have to start wearing like padded gear or something like that for some of these people.
Oh yeah. I've gotten quicker. I move out of the way quicker.
Learn how to duck and weave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have to
No,
take
it's been
boxing
fun.
classes on the side? That way you can learn how to dodge the hits and stuff that are coming your way.
Yeah, yeah. I have to prep. No, it's funny because we talk about what we do, and it's a very physical job. So working with animals, I'm working on animals. Like the other day, I worked on a Clydesdale, and its
Yeah.
foot is bigger than my hand. And I'm not talking about like my fist. I'm talking about my hand being spread wide open. And I've got a decently large hand.
Yeah.
That its foot was way bigger than that. I mean, I have to work on these animals that are twice as tall as me, and I have to manhandle them sometimes. And I work on dogs that I'm wrestling with sometimes, or I get people that are pushing 300-400 pounds,
Uh-huh.
and it's a very physically demanding job, and
Yeah.
I have to make sure that my body is also in check so that I can continue to do this job for years to come, because I don't want to hurt myself in working on somebody or working on an animal.
Yeah.
I have hurt myself working on horses. I tore an ACL and tore my meniscus in my knee, and neither one of them were surgery candidates. Like I said, I sometimes believe in surgery, and neither one of them were candidates for surgery just because of where they were located and the depth and all that stuff. And so I had to do rehab on this knee
Mm-hmm.
until I felt like I could work on horses again.
Right.
And until then, I'm gimping around the office and all that. So I've had to do a lot to keep myself, healthy whenever I'm working on these big, crazy animals and, these sometimes big, crazy people.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So we're about to get here to an end on this and everything. So is there anything that you want to tell us that might be coming up?
man, right now, so I just got finished with an interview with BuzzFeed. Are doing an interview with the Dodo
Okay.
next week. I don't have anything on the schedule as of yet,
Uh-huh.
but I do feel like this year just keeps getting bigger and bigger. We've had people ask us to, go and teach in the Cayman Islands, or go to Hawaii and teach, or Spain, and we've had all these things, and we don't necessarily have dates on any of them yet.
Uh-huh.
We're still trying to get some of the basic stuff in our office done so that we can, we want our office to kind of be like a machine that can run very,
Right.
very efficiently. So all we have to do is push a couple of buttons and pull a few levers,
Yeah.
and everything else takes care of itself in the background. And we're still trying to get there. And once we do that, then we're going to be doing a lot bigger things. And I have been in contact with the lady that originally wanted me to go to Africa, and they want me to go back. They want me to go to Kenya
Oh wow.
and help with giraffes and stuff. And when that happens, I have no idea.
Uh-huh.
But we do have those opportunities, and I don't know what's going to happen or where God's going to take us, but I know that this is just the beginning. So,
That's
it's
awesome.
just like you, man, with this podcast, like it's just about to get a whole lot better.
Oh yeah.
So.
That's awesome, man. I look forward to seeing where this goes for you, because I feel it's going to be big as well. All right, so if people want to follow you online, or they want to follow your practice online, or any of those things, how can they do that?
Yeah, so they can actually find my personal stuff. So we have a couple different things, but like TikTok would be Dr. Joren _Whitley. My Instagram is Dr. Joren_Whitley. Our office is Oklahoma Chiro, and that's Oklahoma CHIRO. That's on Instagram and Facebook. So we run a couple of things under my name, and we run a couple of things under the office. We are looking at rolling out some YouTube stuff here in the near future, and maybe some stuff on Rumble as well. Yeah. But so Dr. Joren_Whitley or Oklahoma Chiro. And then our website is oklahomachiro.com. And we're located here in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, it's been awesome having you on, and I'm definitely going to have you back on again because I still feel like we just barely brushed the surface of some of the subjects that we can talk about.
Oh, yeah. For sure. I could talk all night, but I know that, podcasts are only so long, so saving the info for the next visit, right? So.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, it's good having you on.
Yeah, man. It's been fantastic. Man, it's been an honor to have you ask me. So awesome. I'm looking forward to the next time.
The honor is mine, man. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Talk to you later.
This is Jack and Joe from Derazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films
and fixes them.
It's not enough to just point out when a movie is bad.
Which we do.
Or to discover why the movie is so bad.
Which we do.
We go ahead and fix the whole damned thing.
Yes, we do.
Bad movies, good writing, a special brand of stupid.
That's Derazzled.
Find Derazzled at your favorite podcast spot.
We're sure to razzle-dazzle you.
Oh, yeah. My name is Cat's Pajamas, aka Cat's PJs. I'm the host of a show called Creative Podcasts, where we talk all things music, musicians, musicianship, music influences, music backstories, the origins, where they come from, what do they do, what are they doing now. So if you're into music, if you listen to music, come on over to Creative Podcasts, where all the cool cats are hanging, baby. We'll talk about your favorite artists, your favorite songs, conspiracies to funny things, this, that, finger snaps, hand claps, all genres of music. Eclectic, electric, and nothing like you'd expected. So come on over to Creative Podcasts and tune in, baby. I'll see you there.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Dr. Joren Whitley. I'm sure I'm going to have him on again in the future. We still had a lot of stuff that we didn't get to cover in this episode, so the next time I have him on, we'll have to get into those other subjects as well. So I have a lot of pretty awesome people planned to come on the show here in this next week. As you're hearing this episode, I will be recording with Shotgun Dan Weber. He is a wrestler that I've seen in Crown Championship Wrestling twice now. I know that he also wrestles with Wrestling for a Cause, which is the promotion with the guy that I had on last week, Tim Rockwell. So if you guys want to tune in for that episode, that would be great. It's a lot of fun here. We have a lot of exciting talks and conversations here, and I can't wait to have him on. I've got a few other ones lined up in the month of August. I've actually booked all the way out to November now. So I'm going to be keeping this busy. I've got tons of guests to come on the show. I think you guys are really going to like the people that I have coming this way. So if you guys want to continue to tune in, that would be great. And when you do hear this episode, why don't you go ahead and go over there and rate it or review it. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't like. If you would like to get a hold of me, you can also do so by sending me an email, and my email address is giveadatapodcast@gmail.com. If you would like to follow me on the social medias, you can do that as well. That way you can keep up to date with when new stuff comes out. You can find me on Facebook, and that's at IYGADAP. It's the acronym for If You Give a Data Podcast, or you can just look up If You Give a Data Podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram, and that's at Give a Data Podcast. And then I'm also on Twitter, and that's DadPodcast11. I keep all of my stuff up to date on there. If you guys want to send something to me, that would be great. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I look forward to bringing you guys more and more content. I'm excited about the guests I have coming on. I've got everything from counselors to wrestlers to musicians on here. So you're always going to have something new to listen to. I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited to see what the future holds here. And I hope you guys come along for the ride. And for those who just tuned in just to hear Dr. Joren Whitley, I hope that you stick around, stay along for the ride, because we have some amazing guests on this show. So I'm going to bring this show to a close. Like I said, I'm very excited about what's going to happen in the future. I can't wait to bring next week's guest on to you. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye. If you enjoyed our show, come back next week. Come on, guys. You know you want to come back. Might get some laughs. Yeah.